Welcome to the fastest stop in town. Today, Masechtas Bava Daf Kuf Tes Zayin. We're going to begin on the very, very top of Kuf Tes Vav Amud Beis, mostly because our shir, unfortunately, was cut short due to technical difficulties. So we were learning in yesterday's daf in the Mishnah that if you have one person with wine, one person with honey, which is more expensive, and the honey broke, so this person dumped out his wine in order to be able to catch this person's honey. On this, the Mishnah said, Eino ol secharo. Unless he stipulated that he should be paid for the wine, he would not get paid for it. Instead, all he does is he gets paid for his schar pu'ula, for his work. But that's it. So on this, the Gemara asks, this is where we kind of got cut off by the Gemara, but why do we say that this is all he gets? Le'malei why don't we say that he should actually keep the honey? Because this honey was basically going to be destroyed. If a person has wine oil, they're about to break, you can't say that. He didn't do anything because it's a smart idea, in theory, that because you have to take off trumas and maasros, so you might as well use this stuff that's going to be wasted anyway, and it should be chal on your tevel, which is in your house. But you can't do that because it's worthless. It's going to be ownerless. So as Rashi says, Al mekivandel ibud azal leislo zachia. You have no ability to be able to do this. So too, when it comes to this honey, which is pouring out, we should say the same thing. The answer is that's not what's happening. Rather, Yirmiyah, we're talking about kishekel beisabad korach aleha, chanami kishekel beisabad korach aleha. Basically, the barrel was tied up and the honey was dripping out slowly. So it wasn't going to waste completely, and therefore, for that reason, we're not going to say it will be hefker. V'im amar lo amar klum. We said that when it comes to this trumas and maasros, that stipulation will not help. So why not? V'osani, didn't we learn mishma b'derech u'mois biyado? Person is on the road and he has money. V'anus kenegdo, and he sees that some oinus is coming toward him. Basically, we have bandits that are going to steal his money, for example. Lo yomer, you can't say that it should be chal on this money because you know that the money is going to be stolen afterwards. But the catch is, even though you're not supposed to do that, but if you did, it will work. So how could we say in the statement above the v'im amar klum? Here it says devar kayomen. So obviously there must be a distinction. So hachmayaskinon kishyachol hatzel. We're talking about a situation where it could have been saved. And therefore, since it could have been saved, it does have value. So one second. So why doesn't it work l'chatchila? So yomer b'shiyachol hatzel eidchak. It means that it can be saved only under extreme circumstances. And therefore, because of that, we're not going to say l'chatchila you can do so, but only b'diavad if you did, it works. However, our case, before that, when it says lomer klum, is because it's totally ibud and cannot be saved at all. You're telling me when there's a major monetary financial loss, it doesn't work l'chatchila, but I'll show you it does. A person has 10 barrels of tevel, which is tamei, and he says that one of them is breaking. Ocean is galta, or it is open and revealed. Rashi says, we're talking about new wine. It's not so fit for use. And what they used to do is they would sprinkle wine in order to settle the dust on one's floor, which had its own purpose. So it's a small loss because this new wine doesn't have the same value as old wine. So again, one of the barrels shenishbro and shisgalta amar harihi trumas meiser al teisha chavarseha. We should say, which this is considered to be trumas meiser on the other 9 good barrels. Uveshemen lo yasakein. You can only do this by wine, but not by oil, and the hesed kayin, because it's considered to be a big loss for the kohen. However, when it comes to this new wine, it's not considered to be a hesed gadol, because again, it's new wine. But anyway, we see l'chatchila you could do this. So how can you say it's only b'diavad? So Rabbi Yirmiyah, kishe'ekel beisabad karchaleha. We're talking about a situation where the barrel again was tied up and it was only dripping out slowly, so there wasn't really going to be a waste at all. So it's not hefker, and that's why l'chatchila you can do so. Now bishlama shenishbra chazi. I can understand if it's broken, it still has utility because it's not dripping out fast. Elnis galta my chazia. If it's open and revealed, then it no longer has any utility, says Rashi. V'afil hachi katani amar harihu truma. It still works. Alma lehefsemuet lo chashu. So this is even by, as we said, hefsemuet. V'chitem achaz laziluv. So say, well, this wine you could still sprinkle with it. Losan yimayim sheniskala, when you have water that's revealed. Harizel lo yishfachem b'rishus harabim. You cannot pour it in the Rishus Harabim. Again, this is the problem, as Rashi says, because we're concerned of Eres Shel Nachash, that there may be venom of a snake that's inside this open barrel, and therefore that's why you have to be careful. You cannot use it to mix up mud. Basically, you don't want to use this at all. And also, Rabbi's behenas abayis, not to, again, for the use of cleansing the house. You can't give it to your animals to drink, and also not your friends' animals. So we see that when it comes to mayim shenis galu, has no benefit whatsoever. So we're talking about a case where it says Rashi kli al gabi kli. There's a vessel on top of another. You put the sediments in the top. It's like a sieve, and the wine gets sifted through. So it's a way of avoiding the potential of poison. Rav Nechemia Desanya, this is the end of the fourth parak in Sukkah, Misanenes, even with a sifter, Yesh Mishum Gilui, it's still considered to be an issue of Gilui. Says Rashi, you still have to cover up the top, so a snake doesn't drink. Even though it's sifted through, we're concerned that still the poison, the venom may have gotten into that area. When do I say this? When the bottom one is open. If the bottom one is closed, even the top one is revealed, it's not a problem. It's like a sponge. The soft when it floats. So therefore, when it comes to that, we are not concerned because you would spot the venom. All this is telling us, Shalotarku, says Rashi, Bishalo Irbu Adam, when it was not mixed up. Avotarku Aser. However, it was mixed up, then it's still going to be Aser. So over here, Rashi says, this barrel, Kimara Vishadile Mechavias Masanenis Mitrik. When you're pouring it from the barrel into the sifter, it mixes together. So the venom potentially is mixed up with the wine. So the question is, what utility is this? So you could put something at the opening of the, like Rashi says, like a garment, by the opening of the barrel. The shafile in spill out. You can spill it out slowly. Rav Nechemia, fine. So Rav Nechemia mi tarminon. According to him, does he really say that you could use this as truma? Lasanya tarmim minatame al tame, minatar al tar, minatar al tame. You could separate truma tahar to tahar, tame to tame, and even from tahar onto tame. Lo min hatame al tahar. You can't use something which is tame for something which is tahar. Nechemi omer af min hatame al hatame loy. You can't even use tame to tame. He's very strict. Hatiru litroim ella b'shel damai. Lo hatiru litrom el b'shel damai. The only time we're lenient is when it comes to damai. We're makel because Rov Amma Arts give out meiser. Probably already did separate, so we're lenient when it comes to that. Hachinami b'shel damai. So here we're talking about damai. Amar b'shemen l'yasakain. Don't do this by oil. Maybe they have kain because the kain's going to lose out. Maishna shemen deroy lahadlik. So because this is more psachim. When it comes to the very end of the first parak, when it comes to oil, it's fit till light. So yain nami roy lazil if you could sprinkle. V'chitim lazil afla milsahi. It has no value. V'yamishmo mishum mechia shaisin miloig b'sela mizalfin miloig b'shnayim. So we see that the concept of ziluf does have great monetary value. So so as we said in Rashi way above, that we're talking about new wine, and with new wine we don't use ziluf. We don't use it for ziluf. So okay, fine, but why don't we just keep it around and eventually become old wine? Then you could use it for that purpose. Now, we're concerned that if you leave it, you may end up using it and consuming it, and therefore, because that would be wrong and it would be a takala, so we don't want you to keep something like this around. We'd allow you, if it was old, to do ziluf right away, but since it's new, you're not going to wait and keep it because you may use it for something else. So shemenami yasi b'dei lidei takala. So if you leave oil around, the same problem could happen. You put it in a repugnant kli. So yain nami manachle b'kli mois. You put the wine there also. The bahashta lazil of kaboile b'kli mois kamanachle. But the reality is that since you're just going to do ziluf with it, so you could put it into such a kli, and that's not going to deter you from using it for ziluf. But nonetheless, there's still an issue of takala. On this question, the takala atzma tanoim. This notion is actually a machlokas tanoim. The sign yechavish yain shel truma shenitmis. We have a barrel of wine of truma that became tamei. Beishami omrim, as we finally get to our daf kuf tes zayin amud aleph. Tishafeh hakol. Pour the whole thing out at once. Beisil omrim te'aseh ziluf. You could sprinkle it slowly, but not all at once. So Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yosi, ani achriya, I'll compromise. Bebayis, in a house, tiasa ziluf. You can sprinkle it. V'sadeh tishafech. If you're in a field, then because there's no ziluf there, so therefore you're going to end up just pouring it out. Tishafech hakol. Igad yarmi biyashin tiasa ziluf. When it's old wine, you can do ziluf. V'chadash tishafech hakol because of the notion of takala. Armo ein hachro shlishim achras. This is not considered to be a compromise. Says Rashi, Tam atzmacha ataimer. You're saying your own reasoning. Look at every echad mehan, not like one of them. Sheshneim lo hiskiru bias v'sada. Since neither of them mention a house or a field, so it's not like you're siding with one for this, one for that. You're just saying your own opinion completely. So you're not considered to be a machriya. Okay. Im armelo atzeles shulcha b'chul. So if you made the stipulation and says, listen, I'm going to save your honey, but you have to pay me for my wine. So we say that's true. That would work, and you would actually have to pay for this person's wine. Why didn't we just say that the guy was just saying, yeah, sure, I'll pay for your wine. I was just jesting with you. If a person who is running from being in prison, boides lefanav, and there's Rashi says a sfina. There's a boat in front of you, and obviously you want to catch that boat because you're running away from jail. Amalo, you sell toil dinner v'havireni. I'll give you a dinner and let me get on your boat. So ein lo el sacharo. The din is you only have to pay for the regular fare, even though you mention a massive amount of money. I was basically just telling you, I was joking about giving you $1 million. I just wanted to get across, and now that you had me go across, you shouldn't charge me for more than that. So even though the guy said, you're going to pay for my wine? And he said, yeah. He really didn't mean it, so you shouldn't have to do it. So, halodami el sefer. He said, no. The truth is, our Mishnah is more comparable to the sefer. What was that? V'im omer lo, and he said, Tol dinner zeh b'scharcha v'avireini noislo schar mishalim. That if he mamish stipulated and said, I will give you a dinner for your labor, bringing me across the waters, then that's precisely what you must do. So, Maishno Reish, Maishno Seifa. So, what is the difference between the Reish and the Seifa? So, Amar Rami Barachama, but Sayid Hashoyle Dogim and Hayom. We're talking about a person who is a fisherman, and he's catching fish. Yarmalei Asadtani Kavri Mezuzah. Basically, I'm losing out for my fish. So basically, the owner was a fisherman, and he made him lose out from catching fresh fish to bring you over on the boat. So here too, in the Mishnah, he's losing his wine. So the Baal Hadvash, the owner of the honey, must pay him for this wine. Shatav nar chamar v'chamar chaver shaloi yafa mana v'chulu. It really sounds like the same situation, where we're talking not about wine and oil, but we're talking about with two donkeys, one which is worth 100, my friend's donkey is worth 200, so I save his donkey. So if I stipulate, so then he'll give me the value of my $100, if you will, donkey, which I didn't rescue. Otherwise, I only get paid, according to the Mishnah, enu el scharai. So it's richo. I need both cases of our Mishnah. The Ashmin and Kamaisa by the wine and the oil. Hasam hu dechi piresh, when he specified yoivle de mekule. You have to pay for all the wine. Mishum to be a daim kapasid, because he's losing himself. So it's Rashi shevach hasinu be a daim mishilo. Since he agreed to it, he poured out his own wine. He would never have done that if he didn't actually agree to the stipulation. When it came to the two donkeys that are swept away by the waters, the memela nema el sacharo. So this is not something that his animal, he didn't do it be a dime. He didn't harm his animal be a dime by like pouring out the wine. Here the animal is already in harm's way naturally. So maybe in that situation, even with the stipulation, he only gets paid by the wages. V'yashmin and seifa hachahu demustam inu el scharo. I understand why stam you only get paid just the amount for your efforts. You should be memela. Avol hasam, when it comes to the wine, to be a dime where you pour it out the wine yourself. Emafil b'stam yoivli demekula sricha. Okay, so b'mine Rav Kahan Merav. So a question was posed. Yored l'hatzel. Let's say you're in the direction of trying to save this animal or the wine. Let's say you're this donkey. In order to be able to get paid, and you're going to be losing yours. And what ends up happening is va'olah shalom elov mahu. So my donkey was saved on its own. Says Rashi, mi amrin and mi kara di afgare kibadami. Do we say that's considered to me like it's completely hefker? Umachayevlo heichla shlume. You have to pay me. V'hadu zachabe morei mehafkera. And even though now you have to pay me for my animal, let's say I got lost, but now I retrieve my other animal. It's like me finding something from hefker. Or dilma kivundat salt. Or maybe we say that since your animal didn't drown, so therefore you shouldn't have to pay anything. So malay mishmai rachimu alei. From Hashem you had mercy. It says Rashi, Yoivli Demei Ki'ilu Meis. And therefore you actually will be paid as though it's dead. And therefore the fact that you received this other donkey is like from Hefker, and therefore you just benefit in that way. Kihada Rav Safra, just like when it comes to the incident of Rav Safra, Havika Ozil B'Shariyata, he was in a caravan, La Vinhu Hahu Ari, and he was following a lion. So there was a lion in his direction. In order to appease this lion, they used to keep giving a donkey up from one of these people. But the lion would eat the donkey. It was his turn to give up his own donkey so that the lion would eat this donkey. So he gave up his donkey. However, for whatever reason, v'loi achle, the lion didn't eat his donkey this one time. So kadam Rav Safra v'zachabe. So Rav Safra, who it was his donkey originally, he took it back. And the question is, how is he able to do it? It's because it was hefker, and therefore now he's able to get it back. Just like if this guy was able to retrieve his donkey, so be it. I understand why did he have to be zoich in it. Now he granted the chi afgare when it was hefker, and dieted the ari afgare. It was only so that the lion would eat it. A dieted kol yom afgare. It was only mafgare just for the lion, but if the lion didn't eat it, it should be his. He shouldn't have had to have done any kinyan in the chamor. He should just automatically continue to have it. Says Rashi, he didn't really need to do it, but he did this just to avoid any potential misunderstandings or questions. Okay. All right, let's look at question 12. Zeba b'chabita shel yayin sinistik kachavi shel dvash. It broke. B'shafach eno el schar. You only get your way. So madua amru b'gemara demastis and ari begam de akol be'sabad karchaleh. Why do we have to say that the oil was the honey rather was slowly coming out? So he says because the imol if otherwise it was just pouring out. In that case, it would be ozal ibud, and therefore it's kamatzim and the hefker, the whole davash shalo. So you should be able to have acquired all the honey. 13a. Shatav nar chamar v'chamar chaverai yimar meleyan yatzal shalcha. Yar l'hatzel v'ol shalom me'elav mahu. So the answer is that Hashem had rachamim on him, and therefore he's zoichen. He gets paid as though his animal had taka already died. Okay. Weiter in the Gemara. Bomine Rav Rabbi, Yard Lahatzav Lohitza. Let's say you tried to save this other person's animal, you're unsuccessful. Mahu, do you at least get paid something, even though the guy lost his donkey, you weren't successful? He says, well, this is a question. There's nothing except for his sachar. So you didn't save the animal, although you tried to save your friend's donkey. So the din is that you get paid only the efforts that you put in. So this is question 13. Yar l'hatzav hitzel mahu. So it says enu el sacharo. Obviously, you're not going to get your donkey back. You could have maybe saved your own donkey. You tried to save your friend's donkey and you were unsuccessful. So enu el sacharo. So let's say a person who hires a worker, as we continue to kuf tes zayin amid beis, will havi kruv. So you have this person to bring cabbage, durmaskin, which is another type of vegetation, l'chayla, and it was the purposes of giving it to someone who is sick, and hopefully that person will end up being healed by this medicinal food. Found out the guy was already dead before he was able to revive him. Or shehivri, or he got healthy. You have to pay him the full amount of reward. So the question is, how come over here the shliach gets paid full, and in this other case when I tried to save your donkey, I don't? What do you mean, midami? How can you compare the two? Hasam avid shliach shlichuse, hachol avid shliach shlichuse. So totally, if the guy did his shlichus, so in this case he did his shlichus, he did as much as he could, and therefore for that reason you're going to get schar mishalim. Question TA14 on Kuf Tes Zion Amid Beis. Yes, umadua chayev the shlich ka'avid shlichusei. That's TA14, and it looks like I got that one right about 7.5 years ago. Hacha hasam avid shlich shlichusei. Okay, pretty straightforward. TB14. Zeba b'chavita shel yayin. This is a shel davash. Madua amr b'gemar demasisin ari b'gav gam de aikel be'sabad karach oleha. So this is the same questions we had before. This is Kuf Tes Vav. Kuf Tes Vav Amud Beis. De'im lo kain zed davar hefker l'chol v'loichav l'shalom klum. Okay, good enough. 2b14. Okay. TB15. Shataf nar chamaroi v'chamar chaveiroi v'imar mu'ani atzel eshecha yard l'hatzel v'olel me'il mahu yard l'hatzel lo hitzel mahu hu noitel sachar v'gam ha'chamor shaloi v'zeh hatzel zeh min ha'shemayim ein lo el sachara. Okay, you got that one right. Very good. Okay, that's Kuf Tes Zion Amud Aleph and Kuf Tes Zion Amud Beis TB. No, maybe it's just Kuf Tes Zion Amud Aleph TB15. TB15. Okay, good. All right, let's continue. Tanurban. All right, we're going to get to the mission today. Tanurban. So the Gemara says as follows. Shayara shahaisam halechas b'midbar. Let's say you have this caravan that's going in the wilderness. And you have these bandits, and their job, unfortunately, is levaiza nispashru aleihim b'mamoin. So basically, they're going to steal a bunch of money. So in that situation, what do? So machashmu lefi mamoin. They have like a certain amount of money they want to collect. So you have to pay the percentage according to the wealth. Ve'en machashmu lefi nefashos. Not like a head count. So if there's 5 people, it's not, and they stole $500 from one person. It's not that each person pays $100 for the loss, but rather it's machashmu lefi mamoin, which is not like a flat tax, but rather pumfaker, if you're wealthy, so we figure, oh, well, you're very wealthy, so you absorb most of the loss. This person's very poor, it's only a small amount. Then machashmu lefi nefashos. Ve'im scharu tire, because it was all totally on money. However, ve'im scharu tire, ha'holich v'neihem machashmin af lefi nefashos. However, in this situation, let's say you hired a guide, which means that not only is it a being in this area is mamoin, but it's actually nefashos, because without this guide, you'd be completely lost in the middle of nowhere in the wilderness. So because of that, it's lefi nefashos, because we're not just looking at the financial piece. We look at each individual, and therefore it's divided equally. However, whatever the custom is regarding these types of pirates, if you will, we don't deviate from whatever the law is about how it's distributed. Rishayin hachamarin lahasnais, these donkey riders are able to make the condition shekomi sheyayvad lo chamaro, and who loses their donkey yamlo chamar acher. They have to get another one instead. B'koisya ein mamidin. Says Rashi, B'pshia, if it was negligent, then they do not have to replace it. So basically, again, if you have a condition that if, let's say, my donkey gets lost, I'm going to have it replaced, but if if it was done on purpose that it was lost, then they're not going to have to replace it. Shaloi b'koisya, but it was not by Pshia, then mamidin lo, then I'll give you another donkey. V'im amar tenuli, give to me v'ani eshmor, and I'll guard it. In shaymin lo, then we're not going to list them. Says Rashi, shema lo yikach hachamor, maybe you won't take the donkey. V'heim lo hisnu el kadesh yikach hachamor, he only made this condition, so he should take it. Okay. Now pshita lo tzricha de isle chamra achrina. Let's say there's another donkey around. Madatema hakaminto is going to guard it. Kamashwan shanin and tirusa dechad and tirusa de beitrei. There's no difference between guarding one and guarding two. Tanaban svina shahayisam halachas miyam. So you have a boat that's in the middle of the sea. Amadalehan nachshoyel latayva. So there was unfortunately some tragedy that it was going to sink. And therefore, because it was too heavy, the hekilu mimasa, so they had to start throwing stuff off the boat so that the boat won't sink. So machashmin lefi masoi, so it's based on weight. In machashmin lefi mamoy, not its value. V'yishanu miminig hasapanim. But again, you don't deviate from whatever the custom of the sailors are. You have to follow whatever the sailors say. So therefore, again, it's not like, well, I have all this valuable stuff. It's based on weight. So therefore, if we say everyone has to throw 10 pounds of stuff out off the boat, it doesn't matter what your 10 pounds is, even if it's 10 pounds of gold. You have to do whatever they say. V'rishayim hasapanim lahasnois, and they can make a condition, shikomi sha'avda lo'svina, anyone who loses a boat, yamid lo'svina cheres, that there'll be a replacement boat. Avdol b'kaisya, if it's lost on purpose, in mamidin, then it's not going to be replaced. Shlo b'kaisya, if it was not b'pshia mamidin lo. V'im pirei shlo makam shein hasvinus hoyachin, if you go to a place where boats typically don't go, in mamidin. So that's considered to be like pshia. So pshita lotzricha de Nisan, in the month of Nisan, merachake chad ashla, in the month of Nisan, says Rashi, shigadol hanahar mihashparas shalagim, there was a lot of snow and it was cold, so a lot of rain. Marchikin chad ashla lo chevel misfasanar, you should only be, let's say, a certain distance, one distance from the edge of the shore. V'tishrei merchaki trei ashli. However, in the month of Tishrei, where there's not as much, there's no snow, wasn't any rain, so in that situation, you could distance yourself further away. So v'ka'azal b'yomid Nisan l'makam Tishrei. In the month of Nisan, he went further out than he was supposed to, like it was Tishrei. Ma'adatema davshe nakid v'azal kamash mulan. So you would think, says Rashi, v'azal halach be'emsa hamayim, in the middle of the water, mitayich shahanar gadol v'chazak nitba, because of where it was. So because it was in a deeper area, that's what caused the boat to sink. So therefore, that's what is coming to tell us that case. Tanaban shara shahaysim halachas mamidbar. So you have a caravan again in the middle of the desert. The Amid Gaius Vitarpa, as we said before, bandits come and they want to take some of your money, like a bunch of pirates. So one person saves them and gives all of his money or a significant amount to appease these people. So the answer is hitzel emsa. We say it's shared with the others. So if he was able to save them, so everyone, and let's say he saves all their money, right? Let's say it that way. So we don't say that money's hefker, but rather, as Rashi says, kol echad makar shlo v'noitel. Everyone should take what is theirs. If he says, I'm going to save it for myself, then it's for him. If everyone was able to save it anyway, I feel safe anami le'emsa. Everything, all the money should go back. If no way anyone was able to save and somehow was able to pull it off, then he should be able to keep everything for himself. So there's a few answers. Here we're talking about these people are partners. And says Rashi, it doesn't matter the difference whether we're talking about people that you could have saved it or not. So what he did was he divided it without his partner's consent. Omar, if he stipulated what he was doing, then polig. So it's like he's broken off. He breaks off from his partnership. But if he did, if he did stipulate, he didn't break from the partnership. If it is split, it's split equally. Loy Omar lo polig. Rabbi Omer. Let's see if Rashi says anything here. V'shaper ava damasar nafshe iska tetervayu. If he didn't say anything, it's not split up because it's clear that he did not break the partnership. Hoyel v'hu shutiv imo urchel mitrach hakul iska. So since he's a partner, you should be involved in helping your partner out. So therefore, if you didn't make any stipulation, then lo polig. Here we're actually talking about workers. A poil, he could stop working at any time that he wants. As long as he does not retract, it's considered to be like in the rishus of the Baal Bayis. When he retracts, it's because of a totally different reason why he's allowed to. That we are supposed to serve Hashem. We're not supposed to be slaves to anyone, which means that we don't have an obligation to have to stay in working at any point. You can always switch. Or stop. So we answer this middle ground that he could have been saved by the other people, but with great difficulty. So goli daitil atzmo, goli daitil emsa. If his das was for himself, then he keeps it. But if it was not, then it's split up. Says Rashi. We're talking about regular people. The people hear it. And they are not moister themselves to get this stuff. Rather, this guy takes it. So asach dataihu, so they diverted their attention. Vigilei diyayish, basically gave up that they were going to get it. If they were able to easily get it back, feel shama b'shaskulo kandi the mistamo yayish. So again, if it was shechal hatzel chak, but they heard that this guy was doing this and they didn't do anything to get it back, so then it goes to him. However, lo goli daite, because it's hefker, because there's yish. Otherwise, not. Okay, we're gonna stop there. Let's see, maybe another question, possibly. Question 14. Shaira shayis malechas b'midbar, ve'amad gais v'tarpa ve'amad echad v'hitzil emsa. Everything, it's split evenly. Yim amar atzel atzma, he keeps it. Il gimel fanim. Ika b'gemara Hamid ben Paresa. What are the three answers we said? Either talking about shutvin, and for example, this shutif was chaylik shlo das chavero. He did this without his partner's consent, and the question is he acting on behalf of the partner or not? We're talking about poalim, workers. V'im amar la'atzmi haderbe, and if he says he's keeping it for himself, so then that's how it works. Because it's comparable to him basically saying, I'm not working for you anymore, and therefore it doesn't go to the Baal Habayis because I'm not connected to the Baal Habayis. So then it's clear that they're miyayish, and because they're miyayish, the din is that you get to keep it yourself. Adkan.